Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, June 22nd, is that correct? June 22nd. This is the Town of Douglas Economic Development Commission meeting. Can we start out going over our meeting minutes from last meeting?
Yeah, okay, the last meeting was, take this mask off, last meeting was June 3rd. We were all here except Carol, who was away, and this was a remote meeting. We did it on Zoom. The center was closed. We approved the minutes of the May 6th meeting. Bobby reported that letters of intent have been prepared for 2 industrial projects. And we just kind of left it at that. We discussed the 43-acre zoned, industrial zone parcel on Monroe Street. It's being marketed. And we discussed access possibilities from Route 16, a couple of 3 parcels, 193-2 and 192-8 were discussed. We need to investigate the restrictions, requirements for obtaining a right-of-way over the trunk line trail and the gas pipeline also. Luke reported that he's researching grants that may be available for the EDC. And Luke also reported that he's contacted the REI store chain to determine if they might be interested in Douglas. Meeting adjourned at 7:35 p.m. And we had a Zoom hacking problem. We voted to have our next meeting on, this meeting on June 17th, but that got postponed and it's presently the 22nd tonight. Our next meeting will be July 1st.
Nice, thanks. Anybody motion to accept these?
I make a motion to accept these minutes.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't even there and I couldn't figure out how to get on Zoom and stuff.
Well, that was good. Good for you. All right, next up we have the purpose of this meeting is, Bob, you want to fill us in?
Well, let me make one comment on these minutes of the meeting. I did check with our town engineer on restrictions, requirements for obtaining a right-of-way over the trunk line trail and a gas pipeline. Those are all doable. So, Brad, you had mentioned parcel 193-2. If we can gain access through there.
And that was town-owned.
That's town-owned. That simplifies things from us.
Good.
We can also access it right in the middle. As you know, that 40-acre industrial zone piece on Monroe Street is long and thin. We can access the middle of it through the Douglas Land Corp. piece 192-8. Those are only 2 pieces that are presently unoccupied. They're both vacant lots.
So if we use the town property.
We come in on the end. We come in on the end. And you really don't want to access it through Monroe Street.
No, not at all.
It's narrow.
It would be better to shut that off and just put some trees back there and close it up.
You could. A very minor traffic, maybe employee traffic, limit it.
Back
but
entrance.
Your truck entrance will be obviously through a back entrance.
That'll be good.
So that's the only comment I had on that,
So we got to find somebody for it then.
and I'm working on that. So that's the only comment I had on the 43-acre industrial zone parcel. As you know, the meeting, we call this meeting because we had a meeting last week with a developer, town officials. There's a company interested in coming into town to build a 1 million square foot warehouse, which is pretty sizable. They didn't announce the intent, they just were scratching the surface to see if we were interested, and of course we said yes. But zoning issues have popped up since then, so we have to address them, and that's the reason we're having this meeting tonight, so we can send our recommendations to the Board of Selectmen meeting tomorrow. So getting into the meat of this zoning amendment, if you look at the first page, I gave you a 4-page packet. Appendix A, Town of Douglas Schedule of Use Regulations. If you're not familiar with these, get familiar because this drives Douglas. This is what we can do and what we can't do. If you look under D, industrial, which is where we're putting we just rezoned that piece on the 185 acres behind Granutech. We zoned that all industrial, so these 6 items is where we're working from. And number 1, any manufacturing use, including processing, fabrication, and assembly conducted inside a building. Therein lies the problem. This was written 20 years ago, inside a building, that excludes any of this manufacturing use outside a building. If it's not specified, it's not legal, it's not lawful. So we have to propose a zoning change to kind of loosen these restrictions up a little. So if you look on page 2, this came from town council this afternoon at 3 o'clock. If you notice 1A, any manufacturing use, including processing, fabrication, and assembly conducted
everything.
outside a building. So we're pretty much covered right now. If we had a company that came to us and said, hey, EDC, Douglas, we'd like to build picnic tables outside this building, we'd say, fine. But zoning bylaws don't allow it. If somebody wanted to fabricate trusses, a metal company come out, and they had a long truss that was half in the building and that half outside. They couldn't complete the outside half. They just couldn't. It's not allowed by zoning bylaw. If you wanted to assemble bicycles outside, can't do it. Zoning bylaws don't allow it. By this simple change, inserting the word outside a building and making it 1A, gives us the flexibility to talk to a lot of companies.
Yep.
Even the car wash company might have been in jeopardy because some of it's outside a building.
That only gets you permission for special permit through zoning board of.
Right, if you notice all the ends,
Yep.
in these, and you have to match up the ends and the BA with the use table.
So we're just trying to loosen the restriction, we're not trying to remove it fully, because you gotta still go through a special permit just to get to it.
Right, and the reason we did that is, let's say somebody wants to open up a gravel pit somewhere. Take Monroe Street. It's a long, thin piece of industrial land surrounded by residential. By having it a special permit criteria, you can disallow it.
Right, it gives you more control, but it doesn't immediately.
Gives you
cut them off.
control, right.
That's fine.
You can allow it where it's going to be lawful,
Yep. makes sense.
and it makes sense. So this gives our zoning board some control over who goes in and where it goes. But it gives us the flexibility to just about talk to anybody.
Right, it removes the hard no to a maybe.
Right. Now, that would give the, either the zoning board or the planning board, they could ask them to do things to mitigate noise.
Yes. And if you notice the next 2 pages, the footnote, by the way, there's going to be an asterisk. It's BA, which is zoning board of appeals, special permit. They will have to review 2 sections of our zoning bylaws. One is 5.3.3, which is property lines, landscaping requirements for property lines. That's on page 3 of your packet. Just a small paragraph in the middle. But it does allow for buffers
Yeah,
for
20-foot
screening,
buffer,
plantings.
So I for industrial and means 20-foot buffer of
See,
landscaping at the.
commercial or village business, and we're worried about the 20 feet.
That's fine. So that's for anybody adjacent neighbors or whatever.
Those are just property lines, but if you look at the meat in above it, it mentions maintenance of trees appropriate for screening, space to minimize visual intrusion, providing opaque year-round buffer zones between users.
So that's a new change you're asking for is 5.3.3.
No, that's always been in there.
Okay,
The special permit will reference this and address it.
gotcha. Okay, that helps.
The special permit will also reference the last page in its entirety, 5.4 environmental performance standards.
Noise and solid waste, yep.
Yep. outdoor lighting, cinders, dust, fume, gases, odor, smoke, radiation, refuse, other waste materials shall effectively confine to the premises. So no matter what industry comes in, the zoning board has to, the special permit has to address all these items. So, the meat is to see if the town will vote to amend the use table in the town zoning bylaws, adding a new industrial use as follows, which you see. So, if there are any questions, I'll entertain questions right now. If not, somebody needs to make a motion, second it, and then we vote. And the vote will go to the Board of Selectmen tomorrow night, who will then turn it over to the Planning Board, which will include a 2-week advertisement notification period for a public hearing on July 15th. Once the Planning Board approves it, goes back to the Selectmen, Selectmen puts it on the, as an article on the warrant.
When are we having a town meeting? Have we decided that yet?
September, it's in September,
Finally
don't
gonna
quote
have
me
a
the
town
date.
meeting? Okay,
Yeah.
because I know that we don't even have a budget because we don't have a town meeting.
Right,
Interesting.
Right.
and I think that's going, they were discussing that the other night, I don't know what they went, monthly or yearly
think
with
they're doing
amendment,
something
because
about-
usually the special town meeting cleans up the,
Exactly. Yeah,
and
right.
we didn't have a meeting, so.
We haven't had one, no.
And we don't know if this is inside, outside, rain, shine.
I know.
We have no idea yet.
I know.
But we do have a July 14th to get it on, that article on the warrant. The article will be on, it's just the wording will come from the planning board. So,
I was just looking, Bob, at 3, the sawmill or lumber producing facility. It's up under D industrial.
yes,
That kind of would fall underneath the manufacturing outdoor use, I would think.
Well, just for that use case.
Yeah. I mean, they allow that already.
yeah, but again, that is specific sawmill.
Yeah. Right, they said.
If you went to put in there
Metal fabrication or something.
metal fabrication or picnic tables, now you get into, do we make 7, 8, 9, 10 in specified products or industries?
Yeah, no.
I think just go general. And again, this was already run by town council. This is what they recommended, so.
So we're going to make a motion here to amend, to bring in front of the selectmen to amend the use table in the town zoning bylaws with 1A.
You are?
With 1A,
No, not yet. I'm asking him if we're going to amend that.
yes,
That's what we're asking for.
yes.
I'll make sure.
It's almost like a precedent exists with this sawmill or lumber producing facility. Is that,
Well, it sounds like,
that could be outside, you know? Sawwood.
Right,
this is more generic,
a
that's all.
sawmill is allowed because it's specified. And if you notice, it's a special permit in RA, special permit in RC1, RC2. It is not allowed in VR, village residential, village business, or commercial.
Right.
And of course, nothing goes in the state forest except state forest. And then BA, which is special permit, zoning board in industrial. So sawmills
So-
can't go anywhere either. They can only go in specific
Right.
zone properties.
so I will make a motion that we're making a recommendation to the selectmen to amend the use table in the town zoning bylaws by adding a new industrial use for 1A, which is any manufacturing use, including processing, fabrication, and assembly conducted outside a building, to be a special permit for the Board of Appeals for industrial zone.
That is correct. And if you want to read, shall review.
No, I just made the motion.
Yeah, anybody
Made the
second?
motion. I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Unanimous?
Unanimous, 5-0.
It has been done.
Well, I guess I'd make a motion to,
You motion my motion?
no, to, another motion to add the asterisk item here, which says, in addition to general special.
Oh, I assumed that was going to happen. Yeah.
We can call it out.
Call it out.
No, call it out.
In addition to general special permit criteria, the Board of Appeals shall review any application under the landscaping requirements for property line standards under section 5.3.3 and the environmental performance standards under section 5.4 of the zoning bylaws.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
So we will forward this to the Board of Selectmen at tomorrow night's meeting. And again, this 1A is allowed only in the industrial with a special permit.
Yes.
It is not allowed ends in any other district.
Excellent.
Great.
Do we have anything else on the agenda?
What about the money we're supposed to give?
I
back the
talked
town?
to Jean
Yep.
Lovett,
Yep.
and she got a huge transfer from another department.
Yep.
She did not need our $3,500.
They don't need our money.
So it'll just go back.
So
again
back
for
into the
free?
general fund.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
I motion to end the meeting.
I second that.
All right.
All in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next meeting is